191, the previous question is ordered. Order. The House will be in order.
Madam Speaker, I have a motion committed to desk.
Clerk will report the motion.
Mr. George Miller of California moves that the resolution, House Resolution 5, be committed to a select committee composed of the Majority Leader and the Minority Leader with instructions to report it forthwith back to the House with the following amendment. At the end of the resolution, add the following new sections. Section 6, to shorten voting lines and protect early voting opportunities. Not later than January 31st.
Madam Speaker,
Gentleman from California.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading of the motion.
Without objection. Without objection. Without objection, the previous question is ordered on the motion to commit. Question is on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. No. The noes have it. The motion is not agreed to.
On that, I ask for a recorded vote.
Does the gentleman ask for the yeas and nays? The yeas and nays are requested. All those in favor of taking the vote by the yeas and nays will rise. Sufficient number having arisen. The yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote.
George Miller of California with the motion to commit. That's on this HRES 5, which is the package of rules that the House will be governed by over the next 2 years during the 113th Congress. And in particular, his motion to commit deals with simplifying and speeding general election processes in the United States. This is a 15-minute vote. The underlying package of rules includes allowing for consideration tomorrow of the Hurricane Sandy relief, at least the first part of that package, which deals with flood insurance, and that's what the House is expected to take up tomorrow if the rules pass today. Also in that package of rules, it allows that it would authorize the House to continue its legal efforts to defend the Defense of Marriage Act, and in that is the legal representation of the U.S. House of Representatives in pressing the Defense of Marriage Act because the administration chose not to defend that in court. It will be before the Supreme Court in a case this spring, one of 2 cases dealing with same-sex marriage. A tweet here from one of our viewers using the hashtag 113th. Gina says 113th marriage is between a man and a woman. DOMA should be defended by the president, and he does not. Another part of the rules package that the House will vote on next would force Attorney General Holder to comply with subpoenas related to the Fast and Furious gun-walking operation. It also, the rules package will give bigger authority or greater authority to the Speaker and the Chairman of the Committee of the Whole for reducing voting times in votes during the 113th Congress. Second of 3 votes on the House floor, 15-minute vote on a motion to commit, a final chance to change the package of rules that will govern the House for the next 2 years. It's a 15-minute vote, and the vote on the rules package itself is coming up next. Earlier today, among their first items of business in the House was electing a speaker. They re-elected John Boehner by a vote of 220 to 192. 14 members voted for someone others than either Nancy Pelosi or John Boehner, and Steve Stuckman of Texas, Republican of Texas, was the one who voted present. Just before Speaker Boehner came to speak to the House, Nancy Pelosi introduced him. And during that, she laid out her vision of the Democratic agenda for the 113th Congress. Here's what she had to say.
To my fellow members of the House of Representatives, it is a high honor to welcome you to the 113th Congress. To our newest members of Congress, it is a special privilege and honor to welcome you and your families and extend congratulations to the newest members of Congress. Welcome. To reach this day, each of us has been strengthened by our faith and our families. With a full and grateful heart, I want to thank my family, my husband of 49 years, Paul Pelosi. Our children, Nancy, Corinne, Christine, Jacqueline, Paul, and Alexandra. Our grandchildren, who are represented here today by our daughter, Madeline, and I have to include the D'Alessandro family of Baltimore in that gratitude as well. And I must thank my constituents in San Francisco for giving me the privilege of representing that beautiful and diverse city in the Congress of the United States. Each of us here today is truly a representative in the truest sense of the word, to represent the highest hopes and aspirations of the American people. On New Year's Eve, some of you, a large number of members of Congress, joined hundreds of people at the National Archives building, where we observed at midnight the 150th anniversary of the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. At midnight, there was an enactment of Harriet Tubman ringing the bell. And as she rang the bell, she said, "Now we are free." It was quite an incredible moment. And it was one that ushered in what President Lincoln would call a new birth of freedom for his era and for generations to come. That transformative moment in our history is a reminder of the best traditions we have as a people, the ability and obligation of each generation of Americans to renew the promise of our founders, to carry forward the torch of progress, to reignite the American dream. This is who we are as Americans. This is the character of our country. This is the strength of our democracy. The strength of our democracy rests on a strong and thriving middle class. The backbone of our democracy, that middle class is. So we have a moral imperative to invest in good-paying jobs here at home and in the prosperity of our people as we build our infrastructure and we reduce the deficit. We must ensure that innovation rests at the heart of our success, that we remain first in science, technology, engineering, and energy, that we educate and prepare our young people for the opportunities of tomorrow. And when we make it in America, all of America's families can make it in America. The strength of our democracy also demands that we restore the confidence of the American people in our political process. We must empower the voters. We must remove obstacles of participation in our democracy for all Americans. We must increase the level of civility and reduce the role of money in our elections. When we do, we will elect more women, more minorities, more young people to public office, and that's a good thing. The American people are what make our country great. By and large, the United States is a nation of immigrants, built, enriched, and strengthened by men, women, and children who share our patriotism and seek the American dream. The strength of our democracy will be advanced by bold action for comprehensive immigration reform. I didn't know it was going to be a split thing. Today, we take an oath to protect and defend our Constitution, our people, and our freedom. To protect and defend, that is our first responsibility. And our democracy requires that we each uphold the duty of keeping Americans safe in their homes, in their schools, and in their neighborhoods. As we mourn the families of Newtown, we know that ensuring the safety of all Americans would be a truly meaningful tribute to the children and teachers of Sandy Hook Elementary School. For the strength of our democracy, for the sake of our children, let us work together to protect and defend all of our people. In the same year that President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, the Statue of Freedom was unveiled atop the Capitol dome. It continues, that dome continues to be a beacon of freedom to the world and a source of inspiration for all who have had the honor to serve in Congress. As we take our oath of office today, let us renew the promise of freedom. Let us work in friendship and partnership to live up to the legacy of our founders and the aspirations of our constituents. Let us renew the strength of our democracy by reigniting the American dream. As we celebrate this moment, let us honor and thank those Americans who protect our democracy and secure our freedom, our veterans and our men and women in uniform, their families, and wherever they serve. God bless them. God bless America. Thank you all. Now the House will continue to be led by a proud son of Ohio, a man of conviction and a public servant of resolve. Speaker Boehner is a leader who has earned the confidence of his conference and the respect of his colleagues on both sides of the aisle. He is a man of faith, faith in God, faith in our country, and faith in his family. And as we congratulate him, we also congratulate and thank his wife, Debbie, and their two daughters, Lindsay and Tricia, and the entire Boehner family.
Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi reintroducing John Boehner re-elected today as Speaker of the House. This is the second of 3 votes on the House floor. They have a vote next, the final one of the day, recorded vote we expect, on the rules package for the House, and that is likely to be a 5-minute vote. Keeping an eye on some comments on this first day of the 113th Congress. The hashtag we're using is 113th. Oscar tweets, Oscar Rodriguez, reminder to everyone in Congress, you took the oath to defend the Constitution. Disarming Americans is unconstitutional. Some thoughts from other members and caucuses on Capitol Hill, the Hispanic caucus, and you heard Nancy Pelosi talk about this briefly. Hispanic caucus tweeting, Pelosi urges immigration action as Congress opens. Also, one of the issues talked about in this debate over the House rules package was about making voting easier across the U.S. in general elections, simplifying voting processes. The representative from California, Barbara Lee, tweeting, joined Representative John Lewis as co-sponsor of the Voter Empowerment Act today. We need to remove voting barriers and protect the vote. One more vote after this. You're watching live House coverage on C-SPAN.
On this vote, the yeas are 194, the nays are 229. The motion is not adopted. The chair will receive a message.
Mr. Speaker, a message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I have been directed by the Senate to inform the House that the Senate has agreed to ExCon Rex 3, providing for a conditional adjournment or recess of the Senate and an adjournment of the House of Representatives in which the concurrence of the House is requested. Thank you. Thank you.
The question is on adoption. All those saying aye, all those saying no, the ayes have it. The resolution is agreed to, and without objection, the motion to reconsider.
Request the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those in favor of taking this vote by the yeas and nays will arise. Sufficient number having arisen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record by their vote by electronic device. This will be a 15-minute vote.
This should be the last recorded vote of the day in the House on this first day of the 113th Congress. This is the vote on the package of rules which will govern the body over the next 2 years. It includes greater authority for the Speaker and Chairman of the Committee of the Whole to reduce voting times. Would also authorize the House to continue its legal efforts to defend the Defense of Marriage Act and force Attorney General Holder to comply with subpoenas related to the Fast and Furious gun-walking operation. It would also authorize the House tomorrow to consider legislation under suspension of the rules that would boost the borrowing authority for the National Flood Insurance Program in response to the damage done in New Jersey and New York by Hurricane Sandy. We do expect that if the rules pass today, that bill, that legislation, the first part of that Sandy relief to be on the House floor tomorrow.
all members voted? Any member wish to change their vote? On this vote, the yeas are 228, the nays are 196. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the word general in section 1J1 is changed to government. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. What purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and exchange information on H.R. 5.
Without objection, so. Purpose does the gentleman from California rise?
Mr. Speaker, during roll call vote number 5 on motion to commit, I was unavoidably detained. Had I been present, I would have voted yes.
Objection. The gentleman's statement will be put in the record. Without objection, pursuant to House Resolution 3, the Chair announces the Speaker's appointment of the following members to the committee on the part of the House to join a committee on the part of the Senate to notify the President of the United States that a quorum of each House has been assembled and that Congress is ready to receive any communication that he may be pleased to make. The gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Cantor, and the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Pelosi. What purpose did the gentlewoman from Washington rise?
Mr. Speaker, by direction of the Republican Conference, I offer a privileged resolution and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the resolution.
House Resolution 6, resolved that following named members be and are hereby elected to the following standing committees of the House of Representatives. Committee on Agriculture, Mr. Lucas, Chairman. Committee on Appropriations, Mr. Rogers of Kentucky, Chairman. Committee on Armed Services.
Gentlewoman from Washington.
I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be considered as read and printed in the record.
Without objection, the reading is dispensed with. Without objection, the resolution is agreed to. The motion to reconsider is laid on the table. For what purpose, the gentleman from California?
Mr. Speaker, by direction of the Democratic Caucus and on behalf of the Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, I offer a privileged resolution and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the resolution.
House Resolution 7, resolved that the following named members be and are hereby elected to the following standing committees of the House of Representatives. 1. Committee on Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be considered as read and printed in the record.
Without objection, the resolution is read. Without objection, the resolution is agreed to. The motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Gentleman from California, for what purpose do you rise?
Mr. Speaker, I offer a resolution and ask unanimous consent for its immediate consideration.
Report the title.
House Resolution 8, resolution providing for the designation of certain minority employees.
Is there objection to consideration of the resolution? None. The resolution is agreed to and the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose the gentleman from Texas rise?
Mr. Speaker, I offer a previous resolution and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the resolution.
House Resolution 9, resolved that unless otherwise ordered, the hour of daily meeting of the House shall be 2 p.m. on Mondays, noon on Tuesdays, or 2 p.m. if no legislative business was conducted on the preceding Monday, noon on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and 9 a.m. on all other days of the week.
Without objection, the resolution is agreed to, and the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. For what purpose does the gentlewoman rise?
Mr. Speaker, during roll call vote number 6 on the House Resolution 5, I was unavoidably detained. Had I been present, I would have voted no.
Without objection, the gentlewoman's statement will be put in the record.
Thank you.
For what purpose does the Majority Leader from Virginia rise?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that during the 113th Congress, the Speaker, Majority Leader, and Minority Leader be authorized to accept resignations and to make appointments authorized by law or by the House.
Without objection, so ordered. Gentleman from Virginia.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that during the 113th Congress, all members be permitted to extend their remarks and to include extraneous material within the permitted limit in that section of the record entitled Extensions of Remarks.
Without objection, so ordered. Gentleman from Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that during the first session of the 113th Congress, 1. On legislative days of Monday or Tuesday when the House convenes pursuant to House Resolution 9, the House shall convene 2 hours earlier than the time otherwise established by the resolution for the purpose of conducting morning hour debate. 2. On legislative days of Wednesday or Thursday when the House convenes pursuant to House Resolution 9, the House shall convene 2 hours earlier than the time otherwise established by the resolution for the purpose of conducting morning hour debate. 3. When the House convenes pursuant to an order other than House Resolution 9, the House shall convene for the purpose of conducting morning hour debate only as prescribed by such order. 4. The time for morning hour debate shall be allocated equally between the parties and may not continue beyond 10 minutes before the hour appointed for the resumption of the session of the House. And 5. The form of proceeding for morning hour debate shall be as follows. The prayer by the chaplain, the approval of the journal, and the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag shall be postponed until resumption of the session of the House. Initial and subsequent recognitions for debate shall alternate between the parties. Recognition shall be conferred by the Speaker only pursuant to lists submitted by the Majority Leader and by the Minority Leader. No member may address the House for longer than 5 minutes except the Majority Leader, the Minority Leader, or the Minority Whip. No legislative business shall be in order except the filing of privileged reports. And following morning hour debate, the Chair shall declare a recess pursuant to Clause 12A of the Rule 1 until the time appointed for the resumption of the session of the House.
So ordered. Gentleman from Virginia.
Mr. Speaker, your committee appointed on the part of the House to join a like committee on the part of the Senate to notify the President of the United States that a quorum of each House has been assembled and is ready to receive any communication that he may be pleased to make has performed that duty.
Without objection. The gentleman who seeks recognition?
You're up.
One from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll produce a concurrent resolution and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the concurrent resolution.
House Concurrent Resolution 1. Resolved that pursuant to Clause 4, Section 5, Article 1 of the Constitution, during the 113th Congress, the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader of the Senate or their respective designees, acting jointly after consultation with the Minority Leader of the House and the Minority Leader of the Senate, may notify the members of the House and the Senate, respectively, to assemble at a place outside the District of Columbia. The public interest shall warrant it.
Without objection, the concurrent resolution is agreed to. And the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. For what purposes does the distinguished Majority Leader write?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn to meet at 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Without objection, so ordered.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, very good.
Two appointments and adjournment resolution. And a thing for tomorrow.
Which resolution will clear tomorrow?
Okay, but then the S. Conrad's one for tomorrow.
Yeah, that's good. S. Conrad's one is fine.
And two for inaugural
yeah,
meeting?
adjournment resolution will wait till tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we'll have Mr. McHenry will move to adjourn.
Okay.
When you're done, excuse me, when you're done.
Okay.
The Chair announces the Speaker's appointment pursuant to 2 U.S.C. 2001 and the order of the House of today of the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Cantor, and the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Pelosi, as members of the House Office Building Commission to serve with the Speaker. Pursuant to Clause 11 of Rule 10, Clause 11 of Rule 1, and the order of the House, today the Chair announces the Speaker's appointment of the following members to the House of the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence.
Chairman, Mr. Ruppersberger of Maryland.
The Chair announces the Speaker's appointment pursuant to 15 U.S.C. 1024A and the order of the House of today of the following members of the House to the Joint Economic Committee.
Mr. Brady of Texas, Mrs. Maloney of New York.
The Chair lays before the House a privileged concurrent resolution.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 1, resolved that provide the two houses of Congress shall meet in the hall of the House of Representatives on Thursday, the 4th day of January 2013, at 1 o'clock post-meridian pursuant to the requirements of the Constitution and laws relating to the election of President and Vice President of the United States, and the President of the Senate shall be their presiding officer, that two tellers shall be previously appointed by the President of the Senate on the part of the Senate, and two by the Speaker on the part of the House of Representatives, to whom shall be handed, as they are opened by the President of the Senate, all the certificates and papers purporting to be certificates of the electoral votes, which certificates and papers shall be opened, presented, and acted upon in the alphabetical order of the states, beginning with the letter A, and said tellers, having then read the same in the presence and hearing of the two houses, shall make a list of the votes as they shall appear from said certificates, and the votes having been ascertained and counted in the manner and according to the rules by law provided, the result of the same shall be delivered to the President of the Senate, who shall thereupon announce the state of the vote, which announcement shall be deemed a sufficient declaration of the persons, if any, elected President and Vice President of the United States, and together with a list of the votes, be entered on the journals of the two houses.
Without objection, the concurrent resolution is agreed to. The Chair lays before the House a privileged concurrent resolution.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 2, resolved. Section 1, reauthorization of Joint Committee. Effective from January 3, 2013, the Joint Committee created by Senate Concurrent Resolution 35, 112th Congress, to make the necessary arrangements for the inauguration of the President-elect and the Vice President-elect of the United States, is continued with the same power and authority provided for in that resolution. Section 2, use of capital. Effective from January 3, 2013, the provisions of Senate Concurrent Resolution 36, 112th Congress, to authorize the use of the Rotunda and Emancipation Hall of the Capitol by the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies in connection with the proceedings and ceremonies conducted for the inauguration of the President-elect and the Vice President-elect of the United States are continued with the same power and authority provided for in that resolution.
Without objection, the concurrent resolution is agreed to.
Go ahead with this.
The Chair customarily takes this occasion at the outset of a Congress to announce his policies with respect to particular aspects of the legislative process. The Chair will insert in the record announcements concerning, first, privileges of the floor, second, introduction of bills and resolutions, third, unanimous consent requests for the consideration of legislation, fourth, recognition for 1-minute speeches, fifth, recognition for special order speeches, sixth, decorum in debate, seventh, conduct of votes by electronic device, eighth, the use of handouts on the House floor, ninth, the use of electronic equipment on the House floor, and 10th, use of the chamber. These announcements, where appropriate, will reiterate the origins of the stated policies. The Chair intends to continue in the 113th Congress the policies reflected in these statements. The policy announced in the 102nd Congress with respect to jurisdictional concepts related to Clause 5A of Rule 21, tax and tariff measures, will continue to govern but need not be reiterated, as it is adequately documented as precedent in the House Rules and Manual. Without objection, the announcements will be printed in the record. The Chair lays before the House a communication.
The Honorable the Speaker, House of Representatives. Sir, under Clause 2G of Rule 2 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, I herewith designate Robert Reeves, Deputy Clerk, and Kirk D. Boyle, Legal Counsel, to sign any and all papers and do all other acts for me under the name of the Clerk of the House, that they would be authorized to do by virtue of this designation, except such as are provided by statute, in case of my temporary absence or disability. This designation shall remain in effect for the 113th Congress or until modified by me. With best wishes, I am, signed sincerely, Karen L. Haas, Clerk of the House.
The Chair lays before the House a communication.
The Honorable Karen L. Haas, Clerk of the House of Representatives. Madam Clerk, pursuant to House Concurrent Resolution 1, and also for purposes of such concurrent resolutions of the concurrent Congress as may contemplate my designation of members to act in similar circumstances, I hereby designate Representative Eric Cantor of Virginia to act jointly with the Majority Leader of the Senate or his designee in the event of my death or inability to notify the members of the House and the Senate, respectively, of any reassembly under any such concurrent resolution. In the event of the death or inability of that designee, the alternate members of the House listed in the letter bearing this date that I have placed with the clerk are designated in turn for the same purposes. Signed sincerely, John A. Boehner, Speaker of the House.
The Chair announces that the Speaker has delivered to the Clerk a letter dated January 3, 2013, listing members in the order in which they shall act as Speaker pro tempore, under Clause 8B3 of Rule 1. Chair lays before the House the following appointment.
I hereby appoint the Honorable Jeff Denham, the Honorable Mac Thornberry, the Honorable Fred Upton, the Honorable Andy Harris, and the Honorable Frank R. Wolf to act as Speaker pro tempore to sign and roll bills and joint resolutions through the remainder of the 113th Congress. Signed, John A. Boehner, Speaker of the House.
Without objection, the appointments are approved. Without objection, House Resolution 1 is amended by striking Florida in the second place it appears and reinserting Oregon. Under Clause 5D of Rule 20, the Chair announces to the House that the whole number of the House is 429. The Chair lays before the House the following personal communications.
Leaves of absence requested for Mr. Ribble of Wisconsin for today after 4:30 p.m. and for the balance of the week, and Ms. Roybal Allard of California for today and Friday, January 4th, 2013.
Without objection, the requests are granted. For what purpose does the gentleman from North Carolina rise?
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.